Yo, coming to you live from World Championship in San Jose. Welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
But yeah, we recording. Can we start the Living Legends podcast?
Actually, I did hit record. So
You did. Fantastic. So here we are again. Welcome back to the Living Legends podcast. I'm your host for today. My name's Az from Goarin Gaming. And joined as always by some two fantastic people. I'm going to go this way. So on my screen, it's Bill first. How's it going, mate?
It's going real good. I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. We are filming this on Mother's Day on the Sunday, and just got back from my parents' house where we had a nice brunch, and then on the way back into the city, Jim from the Spike Feeders, and I stopped for ice cream. So I'm having a great time. And yeah, I'm really excited to just sit down and chat again. It feels like it's been, well, I mean, I wasn't here last week, so it has been a while.
It has been a while. Yeah. There were multiple people in the comment sections being like, Bill!
Yeah.
I did see that, and I appreciate the concern. But I'm back. I'm here.
Yeah, good stuff.
Glad to have you back.
Just to recap a little bit as well, you was at Magic Minneapolis, is that right?
I was, weirdly enough. It was also a good time. I played exactly one game of Commander. But it was a fun time, and I ended up pulling one of the chase cards from the new Phyrexia All Will Be One booster. In fact, I think it was the chase card. It was like a special promo version of Shieldred, and I was like, I really like that. I could sell it, but also instead I could keep it because it's really cool. And so I built a commander deck out of it. So now I have a mono black commander deck again.
Yeah.
So it was very eventful.
Ironically enough, I think Az and I played more Magic than you did then, even though you went to Magic Con. Because Az and I played like 3 or 4 games, like 1v1 Commander.
Most of the things that I did in Minneapolis, I took a bunch of naps and then went to a bunch of parties.
Oh yeah.
The naps were basically to facilitate the parties.
Sounds like college, right? Sounds like college.
It was great.
Do you know what I love about that though? It just sets the sort of the prefix that's what we can expect from Bill at Worlds. Is just naps and parties.
I'm down for that.
I mean,
oh my god.
I mean, honestly,
but
man,
I actually played a bunch of Flesh and Blood too. Not like a bunch, but I played a few games.
Nice.
More than Magic.
We were joking on the podcast that instead of like Mark Poole was there, for example, and instead of going up to Mark Poole and getting him to sign Magic cards, you like pull out like your Plague Hive or whatever, and you're like get him to sign your Flesh and Blood cards, your Quiver.
So I actually, the line ended up being too long, so I didn't end up getting things signed. But Livia Prima was there, and I had my Prism deck, so I was like, I could just get her to sign my Cold Foil Luminaris and my Cold Foil Prisms. But yeah, it was on the last day, and there were already like 10 people in line, and the first person in line was getting her to do like sketches on the back of 3 artist proofs or something. She's busy. This is gonna take a while, so I just instead decided not to. But
I hesitate to mention this because it's kind of the secret sauce, and I don't want people to steal my idea. But the best time to get artists' signatures and all that kind of stuff is for Flesh and Blood events. I don't know about for Magic events, but for Flesh and Blood events, usually it's 3 days, and the first day is like a couple little side events, and then like, for example, the Pro Tour, it's like a couple of side events and then like the Pro Tour. And then the calling is the next day, in the next 2 days. And so the first day is usually the smallest turnout. So you go first thing, first day to the artists. And it's like almost no line. You have free reign. It's like you can chit chat. It's great. That's what I'll have
to keep in mind for Worlds then.
Yeah, that's probably that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like, I'm going to hit up all the artists. And then
you heard it here first.
Then we'll do like a draft or like a, some on-demand event. The best part is I know a lot of people love competing in like the calling and all that kind of stuff for these, but there's a certain joy in not doing that because it's like this sense of freedom, right? You're like, okay, I'll just do whatever side events I want, and then you know what? If I'm hungry, I can just go eat. I don't have to wait for like round 8 or whatever. You can just bail and go eat or do whatever the hell.
Yeah.
So
that's like essentially what my entire Minneapolis experience was, because I was like, I was not beholden to any events. Our hotel was like a 10-minute walk away. So once I was done, I was just like, I'm just going to go back to the hotel by myself and take a nap. And then I'll catch up with people for dinner or for a party or whatever.
That's
and it was so nice. Like, it was actually, like you said, so freeing to just not have to be like, well, I got to wait around because I'm going to go and do this thing with this person. I was just like, nah, whatever. I'm tired.
yeah. It's very nice. I recommend it.
Sorry to hijack your intro as well, Kel, but we
Yes.
Oh, hi, I'm Kel. How's it going? I hope you're all doing great today. You can probably guess by the tone of the episode so far, but it's going to be a little freeform, I think.
It is, yeah, very much so. It's going to be a very free-form one. But I mean, starting right off the back of like what you went to recently, Bill, like Magic events. You know, I think that's a good sort of point straight away, really, to kick it off with. Is I have never been to like a Grand Prix or any sort of Magic event ever. The only sort of card game event I've ever been to is a Flesh and Blood event. So I'm assuming you have both been to Magic events. So how do they sort of compare to what we're getting at the moment from FAB?
Let me answer real quick before Bill, because I think Bill has a better answer than me. Because the last event that I went to was a long time ago when I was in high school, and I competed in the Super Series, which doesn't exist anymore. I competed in the Junior Super Series and the Super Series, and I did pretty well. The last big Magic event was actually a pre-release here in Portland, also in high school, and that's when pre-releases were like basically like a Grand Prix. Like, pre-releases were a huge deal. It wasn't just like a little thing you had at your store. It was like a 400 or 500 person event. I ended up getting 12th or 13th or 12th place. I could have maybe top 8'd, but we split the last round because it was going to be a draw, and so I just conceded and we split the prizes, and I let the other person win. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Flesh and Blood events, quite different. So I'll let Bill answer. I think he can attest to the modern version of Magic events more than I can.
Yeah. It's kind of funny though, because you have a comparison for what the Flesh and Blood events are like, and I do not. I have not been to a Flesh and Blood event quite yet.
Yeah.
That will change this year. Again, I am holding myself to my promise of making it to wherever Worlds happens. I'm going to be there. I'm making it happen. But in terms of modern Magic events, I've been to 2. I've been to this one in Minneapolis, and then I went to, with the Spike Feeders as well, to Vegas in 2019. That was I think that was still a Grand Prix. I think they were still calling them GPs back then. But they're pretty interesting. From an actual tournament standpoint, I didn't pay too much attention, but it seems like each day there's a different like set of tournaments or what have you. There's always tons of side events. The one main thing that I would say is probably a big difference, especially between Flesh and Blood events and Magic events, is Commander has become such a force of nature that there's the Pro Tour area, there's the actual like competitive Magic area, then there's like a free play area as well. There are actually, I think, like 2 free play areas sort of. And then there's also the command zone, which is like, if you want to play Commander and you don't have a group already, you can sit here at a table and there's a sign that says like looking for group, either casual or competitive. And you can just like hold it up or walk down and like down the aisles and be like, I want to play Commander. Anybody want to play Commander? So there's a lot of sort of additional infrastructure for the actual like casual play of the game. I don't know if it's exactly like that for Flesh and Blood events, like I said, but it is like actually kind of nice that there are tons and tons and tons of tables. I always saw like more empty tables than filled tables for free play areas, which isn't to say that people weren't playing. There were just a ton of tables. It was like really, really well done out. There were, I think, 4 halls in the Minneapolis Convention Center. I'm pretty sure it was 4. It may have been 3, but it felt like a hell of a lot more than that. And only one of them was for actual competitive stuff. The rest of it was vendors, artists. There was like a main stage for panels and stuff. It was really good. I think Vegas was like that too, except it was just because it was the Vegas Convention Center. It was just one huge hall. Like I don't think I had ever seen a hall that big I don't think it was even filled all the way, if I remember correctly. Like it was that one was a big one. That was like 25,000 people or something, if I remember.
Wow.
But
25,000.
yeah, so yeah, it was a lot. Like it was a busy weekend.
That's insane, dude. So much.
Yeah.
That's so much. So I can tell you now.
I'm not misremembering, but I'm pretty sure.
Flesh and Blood has not had 25,000. I think the highest it'll be is like, I don't know, like a couple thousand at the most, which is still a huge amount.
Yeah. No, Magic events are massive. Like they are huge. But this one in Minneapolis, I don't think was quite as many people. I seem to remember that the Vegas one was really big. I'm gonna see if I can find some numbers on that. But
for those who are listening, and I guess Bill too, because he hasn't been to one, I can kind of quickly go over what most Flesh and Blood like events are kind of like. It's very similar actually to what Bill described, a modern Magic event. There will be a designated competitive area for the Pro Tour or the Calling or whatever, usually with the casting booth and maybe like a stage or something for announcements or whatever. And then there's going to be the entire other section, which is just going to be a ton of tables that are all numbered. More recently, we've had, in the last several events, we've had artist sections, which is great. Worlds had a pretty big artist section. And then there's usually other booths as well, like vendor booths, stores that are opening stuff. Usually there'll be like someone streaming or something, like not the event, but their own thing. And to sign up for events, you can either do it, I guess you could probably do it in paper or whatever, but most people just do it on an app where you just be like, oh, I want to join this event at 5 o'clock or whatever. And then you just do it. There's also on-demand events as well. So like there'll be like flags in multiple areas, and it's just like, oh, go to this section for this on-demand event if you're going to go to the Ultimate Pit Fight event or the Commoner event or whatever. And there's also usually a section for like a cosplay. Recently they've also had an LSS booth usually too. So there'll be an LSS booth usually with like someone from LSS. James usually makes it to all these events, and then of course there'll be the James White signing thing that's always like 1 million people long, and you're gonna have to wait like 4 hours in line. Like, but if you want to talk to James White, he'll be there, probably, and he'll say hi to you for like a minute and before moving on. But that's fair.
That's a cool thing, isn't it?
He's got like literally hundreds and hundreds of people who want to see him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's another really cool thing. I don't know whether Magic really do that sort of stuff or not, but it's just nice that you can literally just go and meet the creator of the game and that he's there to sort of meet and greet people. So
I don't think Magic does that. I know some people from Magic were there. Like, I know for the one that Minneapolis that Bill went to, and I only know this because of I follow Tannen, but Tannen competed in the Pro Tour, and Tannen tweeted that he met like Aaron Forsyth or whatever from Wizards of the Coast. And so like, I know some of them are there. But Wizards, I did see some stuff streamed from Wizards, and they have a more panels and event like
a Comic-Con almost, isn't it?
Yeah. I wish Flesh and Blood did more stuff like that. I think they might have done it for Pro Tour Baltimore. I don't know. I wasn't there. I heard that there was like a panel or something. But I know for the Magic the Gathering for Minneapolis, like on my feed, I saw a bunch of like videos of the streams or whatever of these panels. So stuff like that would be really cool. That's something that I wish or I hope that LSS can get to at some point.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to up the ante at the next Worlds, aren't they? Just based on obviously the experience they had with the last one and stuff. So can't wait to see what happens with that.
Yeah, the last one was fine. It'll be memorable for the wrong reasons, I think. Well, not the wrong reasons. Let me say this. It'll be memorable for the reasons that I'm sure that James is not happy about. Let me put it that way. Because it was in a giant like tent. Everyone says a tent. It's a tent-shaped hangar, basically. It wasn't actually like a fabric tent. It was like metal still, but it was like
blowing in the wind.
Yeah. But it was still like, it was very industrial. Let me put it that way. Industrial is a nice word for it. Just like raw concrete floors with like pipes overhead, and it literally looks like it looked like an aircraft hangar or something like that. Like it looks like they took the aircraft out so we could all play with our cardboard, and after the cardboard leaves, they'll wheel the aircraft back in.
Yeah, in comes the Boeing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was good to a certain degree with the fact that obviously everyone was there for the people essentially, weren't they? Most of them.
Yeah.
So it was just great for everyone to congregate in one place. So again, I think it's going to be great this year with regards to that.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
That was just one thing I thought we could just quickly chat about with regards to that, because obviously Bill's went to a Magic event recently, and there's obviously FAB events and all that sort of thing. But our weeks in Flesh and Blood, what have we been doing recently? Anything? I can start if we want to crack off.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I've been doing a like a stream scene, an OBS scene for this sort of restream of a PTI event that I'm going to be restreaming essentially. So it's the Battle Hardened in Germany, Metropole Ruhr. So I'm going to be doing the Sunday, which is a restream of their event. So they're essentially streaming it on their private YouTube, and I'm going to be doing the English commentary with my Swiss mate, essentially. And Kel as well, if he wants to join at early hours in the morning.
Okay. I'm like, hey, wait, is that the one that I got asked to do?
Yeah.
I might be on for like a round or two, because it's gonna be like 1 or 2 a.m. or something like that for me. So
when it starts, it'll be early for you, but yeah, I can't wait to do that. So I've just been consuming as much content as possible with regards to like commentary and all that sort of thing. And I think obviously, Kel, you've done it before as well, so it could be a good little bit of advice as well to people out there that might want to cast and stuff, and what the best thing to do might be, and how to evaluate the game, and what to look at first, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, the overall tip is, this is a weird thing to say, but learn how to talk well and a lot.
Yeah.
That's mostly what casting is just talking and filling air. One of the biggest things that you don't want to do is to have dead air. And you want someone to always be talking, because you want to be entertaining. The second you have dead air, it's called dead air for a reason, right? And people
start to realize, like, oh, like I could be doing something else. Nobody's talking to me right now.
Yeah. So like it's informative, but it's also entertainment. Well, I think it's probably entertainment more than anything else. The information obviously is very, very important, but it's entertainment. So depending on what your role is, and maybe people don't know this, typically you have a casting role. So there's usually you have a 2-caster setup, and each caster has a role. There's a couple of ways to label that, but basically one of them will be like a play-by-play person, or you call it like the color commentary or whatever, where they just get everything going. Like they say the events, they ask questions of the other person, and they one of the jobs is actually to make the other person look really good and look smart. If you're a good color commentator, you make your partner, your co-caster, look excellent. You make them look like a genius. Really good color commentators would be Marshall Sutcliffe from Magic the Gathering. He's really, really, really good. And so I think if people are wanting to get good at it and learn, I'd watch Marshall Sutcliffe do casting and coverage. And then the other person is the expert or the pro. They're the person who knows all the information, all of the in-depth lines. It's not to say that the other person, the color commentator or the play-by-play, doesn't know this too, but the pro's job is to convey all of the in-depth information, what the players could be thinking, potential lines, card effects, like all that kind of stuff. The play-by-play needs to know this as well, but and like, so for example, I do one from my perspective. So I did the finals in, was it US Nats or was it Pro Tour 1? It might have been Pro Tour 1, but I was doing coverage with Matt Rogers. So I was the color play-by-play, Matt was the expert. And if you watch that back, you can hear me ask him a lot of questions. But they were questions that I knew he knew, to set him up to look smart. So I was like, and he is smart. He knows Flesh and Blood, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But I would be like, hey, what do you think is going on here? What do you think of this play? Yada yada yada. That kind of stuff. There's a couple.
Yeah. So
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, so it's like bouncing off each other almost and sort of setting people up to then say things which make them look really good and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple things you don't want to say. You don't want to speculate or toss speculation to them because that could set them up to not look smart if their speculation is wrong. So you have to be careful with that kind of stuff. You can speculate a little bit, but not. You have to be careful with it. Basically, is what I'm saying. You don't want to make them look wrong. You could speculate in a way that if it happens and they look like a genius, and if it doesn't happen, you can be like, oh, this is an interesting line, blah 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 blah. So there's a bit of nuance to it. And I've only done a handful of events, but I've learned a lot working with Brian Gottlieb and like Tan and Grace and all the other co-casters. Yeah, one of the times was like I actually got to do casting with Brian Gottlieb, and after I was like, hey man, just let me know how I did or if I could do anything better. And Brian was like, no, you did a great job. And I'm like, oh well, thank you. I'm like, I really respect your opinion. So like, I appreciate that a lot. So yeah. But talking, being able to talk like I just did right now, just talk. That's really good.
Yeah.
Just didn't stop, baby.
Yeah. And like, it might sound lame, but like narrate, like pretend like you're doing a let's play. If you want to practice, literally just pretend like you're doing a let's play a game, and then narrate the game as you play, and that will actually help you quite a bit. Or you can try to just fake cast over gameplay or whatever.
Well, from what I saw from the comments of last week, Az did a fantastic job
commentating a room
the last 10 minutes.
Lovely old job.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah, that did make me laugh. So definitely gonna have to do that more. I think I'll do an okay job to a certain degree. Obviously, Pascal's there, and we're just there to have fun. Really, it's not like a paid thing or anything. So there's no pressure or anything. So we can just chill out. But yeah, looking forward to it. I've made some cool scenes on OBS. But yeah, looking forward to doing that. So that's on June the 4th on Sunday. So it's like a PTI event. So should be fun. And like and that setup, like you would be like the color commentary or like the play-by-play, and then you can bounce things off of Pascal. I think that'll work really well. Yeah, he's definitely a better player than me. But yeah, I don't know where. Oh yeah, that was this week in Fab. That was one of the things I was going to mention. Another thing I wanted to mention because I forgot to mention it last week is that Fluke and Box, John Warden, basically paid for my fabled package for the Calling Birmingham. But there is a caveat to this, so I'm going to be wearing a Fluke and Box t-shirt all weekend, and I got some Dragon Shield sleeves printed, which say Fluke and Box on them. So I'm going to be playing in those.
This is good practice for when you fully sell out to major corporations. And so instead of having the Fluke and Box stuff, you can have Ultra Pro or like whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a gentleman's agreement. He basically, when Flesh and Blood released the Calling Birmingham playmat image, which is the new angel, well, probably a new angel or something, right? It's like the foresty one.
It's her name is Avalon Herald of something. I remember. It says the name on the playmat. So it's definitely a herald. Yeah.
So hopefully, so it'll be interesting to see what that does mechanically. But when that was spoiled, Fluke and Box John retweeted it and then did the little side eye emojis like this. Like he was insinuating that I really really want this, and then I just out of the blue I was walking home from work and I was just like, what's this? John wants this playmat. Obviously, you paid for my ticket, and there we go. I'll give it to you at Worlds when I see you. And he was like, deal. I'm like, okay then. Brilliant. So yeah,
I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting that, but he wants to play Matt. He's not going to be there. It's a Birmingham only thing essentially. So I'm happy to give him that. You know, I've got loads of play mats, and if he wants it, he's a collector, investor, whatever. He can have it, and then I get to play in the calling, repping a shirt for him, and then playing Azalea. I expect it depends though, because obviously we got all the new heroes coming out. When Birmingham happens, the new heroes will be there. Then it will be Vincent and Prism will know what they are.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of shirts,
Yeah.
I got an Azalea Cult shirt recently from a different gym than we've already talked about today.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah, I got your shirt, so I can rep the Azalea Cult at Worlds.
Yeah,
I guess.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
I mean, that's another thing as well. Sorry, my week in Fab there's a lot going on. That's another thing as well. Jim is going to be in London in a few weeks. So he's going to be giving me that shirt as well, the Azalea Cult one. And we're both going to a Road to Nationals event in London. So we're both going to be playing Azalea. You know, both probably going to run exactly the same deck as well. See how far we get. But yeah, that should be pretty fun as well. Seeing Jim in London. But that's it really. That's been my week. Pretty eventful, I guess.
I mean, yeah, that's. I was watching that saga unfold on Twitter where you were just like, "Hey, Flukenbox, how do you feel about this?" And I was just like, and he was just like, "Yeah, let's do it,
deal, let's do it." Yeah. So shout out to him.
Wheeling and dealing.
Wheeling and dealing.
As wheel as deal. No one's gonna get that reference. It's a Dark Souls 2 reference, by the way. Highly underrated Dark Souls game. But
no, I do like on a side tangent. I think Dark Souls 2 was great. I love the world and stuff of Dark Souls, but apparently, you know, I didn't know this. I didn't know the hitboxes were I didn't know the hitboxes were bloody tuned to what's the stat. There's a stat for hitboxes essentially. I didn't even know this until recently.
Yeah. Oh, what is it called in Dark Souls 2? No,
yeah.
It's
attunement. No, it's not that.
No. It's it might be agility in Dark Souls 2. Because you have dex, but then you also have agility. I think agility might be your dodge roll iframes. I have a really old Twitter post that I did of, because once again, I don't know if we're going to keep this in the intro, but I have an old video game channel where I played a lot of the Souls games, and I have full platinum guides of Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and I have a couple playthroughs of Dark Souls 2. And I was fighting the Pursuer, and I did the dodge roll of the Pursuer. He did his like thrust, where he impales you, and then he'll like hold you up and you'll explode. So he does this big thrust, and I dodge roll to the side, clearly dodge rolled, snap back to the sword, completely, like 3 or 4 feet, snap back to the sword, and he holds me up and explodes me. And
That's classic.
I have it on a Let's Play, so I literally I made like a GIF of it, and it was on my Twitter, really, really old, but.
Oh wow! Yeah.
But yeah. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
I guess I could talk about my very uneventful week in Flesh and Blood. Hey, I got this Uzuri framed that Izuwari Darianto drew for me. So I finally got that framed and then up on this wall. The angle of the camera doesn't make it look straight. It's all straight. But yeah, I'm expanding my original art wall. And what else did I do? Oh, it's not directly related to Flesh and Blood, but I started my next splash art project with a Flesh and Blood artist, which is really cool. It was always fun working with Flesh and Blood artists. I'm going to be working with Silvia Meliani again. She's the one who did the Kotako's Library, which is one of the most popular pieces that I have. And she's going to be doing Kotako again, and new outfit looks really good, and it's always a pleasure and joy to work with Flesh and Blood artists. So, game wise, not a lot. I think I played like maybe a couple games with my Uzuri, and then that's it. Yeah, that's basically it. So
yeah, nice. And obviously, Bill, what have you done anything recently? I know you've been in Magic, but have you spawned any ideas or anything for?
Nothing too specific. Again, at Minneapolis, I did get to play a couple games with a longtime friend of the channel and personal friend, Mink. Goes by Minksterella sometimes on the internet. Finally got to meet him in person. It's actually kind of nice because he got a card recently, and he always messages me when he gets cards. He's like, "Do you need this?" And he always like comes to me first for like collector's purposes, which is I really appreciate it. But yeah, specifically he was like, "Oh, I got this card. Do you want it?" I'm like, "I do actually, and because you're going to be at Minneapolis, you can hand it to me in person." And so I sent him the money, and then we met up on, I think it was the second day, and now I have a cold foil young Azalea because he won the raffle
Very
for
nice.
it. So yeah. But yeah, other than that, I've been doing some more sorting as much as I can kind of muscle my way through.
Yeah.
I think I did Everfest recently, and I was reminded at just how many of the cold foil and extended art cards I have. I have them all double sleeved, and they were all just sitting in like this box. They like filled this box. And this is my stack of just extras, like over and above the play sets that I have of all of them. It's yeah, I didn't realize I had quite this many, but you know, them's the breaks.
Everfest is a fun set. I'm gonna throw out. Let's throw out a bit of a weird thing for you guys and the audience. What was a sub theme of Guardian cards in Everfest?
Oh, I know.
In Everfest specifically?
Yeah, a sub theme.
I think I know. I think I know the answer here.
Yeah, I think I know the answer, but I mean, the one that I can remember is like drawing cards was kind of a sub theme.
That's not my answer.
No.
My answer is different.
Okay.
I mean, that could be the answer, but my answer is seismic
I'm just
surge.
thinking of like, yeah, surges.
It's not the one I'm looking for, but that's also that is correct.
Because you have all the seismic surge generating cards. So you have Valda who does seismic surges. You have the seismic surge generating cards, and then you also you'll have the chess piece that generates seismic surges, the Earthlore Bounty. And then you have the heave cards, or it's called heave, upheaval.
Yeah,
heave.
So that was my answer.
Pulverize and
seismic surge.
Seismic surge makes sense, but yeah, what did you have in mind?
I'll give you another clue for people that are probably screaming, "Oh, it's this!" in the chat, in the comments. The sub theme begins with S.
And it's not seismic surge.
Well, I was gonna say it's not. I mean, it could be Shield, but Dynasty.
Bingo, baby.
Well, I was gonna say Dynasty did Shields better.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Because
maybe it was Dynasty then.
Yeah, I mean, like there was a Shield, but
they had the Savior. I forget what the name of the shield is. Something Savior. That has
Season Savior.
Yeah, it has 2 defense or 3 defense, maybe 2. And it comes into play with like a -1/-1.
It's 3, and it comes into play with 2 -1.
It comes with 2. Yeah. And then you also had the card that takes off counters.
You had like the Shield Bash. You had a whole bunch of like Shield related stuff in Dynasty.
Well, that's it. That's made me look like an idiot now. Then. Because all the cards I was thinking of were Dynasty, or Dynasty.
This is all shoutcasting practice.
It really is.
I mean, like there is a shield in Everfest.
There's
the frosty one, the legendary. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Bastion of Eisenloft.
But I was like thinking of all the Guardian cards, and there's like there's Macho Grande and a bunch of other stuff, and I'm like, Seismic Surge, it's got to be Seismic Surge.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So the mechanic I was thinking of was Shields Matter, but that is in fact Dynasty. So I was completely and utterly wrong, which is fantastic.
I'm actually kind of excited to see what they do with more Shield stuff, because there are some good cards that they printed in Dynasty for the Shield archetype for like shields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Seasoned Savior is like kind of a crazy card, but interacting with temper counters, battle worn counters, whatever you want to call them, is really tough. And the only card they printed to do that is like it costs 3, I think, to
Yeah,
take one counter off.
Yeah.
So-
that's just a bad rate.
Well, it's interesting because the block value gets, I'm not sure if exponentially is the right word, but it gets incrementally way better the higher the block is. Not just because it blocks for like 3, but it'll block for 3, but then it'll block for 2, and then it'll block for 1.
Yeah.
So it's not you're blocking for 3. You can use it multiple times, and it carries over. So a 3 block card with Battle Worn actually blocks for 6, which is nuts. So that, like Bill said, I think the shield is really good, and if you have good ways to remove those, that's going to be annoying as hell. Like
Yeah, like it's the start of a very tanky strategy. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say like that Guardian needs this or anything.
no.
What they currently have in place though, with the shields, like even with Rampart of the Ram's Head, which as well gets incrementally and also I think exponentially better because it goes 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, etc. As long as somebody can keep up that chain, like that is a really good piece for Guardian alone to stop or to at least have play against decks that specifically like to break the combat chain a lot but continue to attack, which we don't really have right now.
Dash, pistol. It's good against pistol.
Pistol dash gets completely crunched out of existence by Rampart.
It does,
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I've said this before, like privately and on the podcast, and just at all points. I really like when LSS decides to print variants for different strategies within a hero class, because just saying like this hero plays like this is really boring, and they've been doing a really good job at expanding that sort of that framework, that guideline.
100%. I agree, and I also think that's one of the reasons why I really like Dynasty as a set. And I think that's why a lot of people didn't like Dynasty when it came out, is because that's what Dynasty was doing. It's a lot of like different takes and different strategies for classes. And then we also had the assassin stuff that's going on. But it didn't directly power creep a lot of the pre-existing strategies. It offered different things like tigers, for ninjas, shields for guardians, all that kind of stuff.
Axes for warriors.
Yeah. Big axe.
Big axe, yeah. One of my favorite decks. It's still clunky, but we could get there someday.
Ooh. Quick side note. I tried out Talashar's roguelike thing, the Blackjack's Tavern. To their credit, actually pretty fun. I liked it. I only really played Dory, but yeah, whenever I got the option to play Axe, I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna make like a 25 damage Axe and just go bap. And yeah, against computers that don't block, that deck is sweet.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Because we've had experience with the felt table one, haven't we? The assassin one.
I did the Arachne
that was quite
one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The final boss was the Emperor. It was pretty tough. I did like a gameplay video of it that's a couple hours long, and I got to the Emperor pretty easily, and I almost killed him. He beat me the first time, and then I ended up trying 2 more times and ended up getting him on my 3rd try off camera. But yeah, it's fun.
That's pretty cool. It's nice to see like the options that you could go into if it was like PvE, or if you were playing a computer system or a out of the box enemy or whatever.
The felt table one's pretty binary in that like the same things always happen. Like the gameplay, obviously it's flesh and blood, so it's a card game, so the encounters themselves are randomized to a certain degree. But like if you complete the optional objectives, you always get the same items. You always have the same encounters. It's always the same thing. But it was still a lot of fun. And
it'd be interesting to see if any of those ideas or thoughts actually bleed over into the actual company's ideas for PvE or co-op or whatever.
I don't know how much they do or can look at that kind of stuff. Like I know some developers are very strict about like don't look at other things just in case that they end up doing something similar, so they can't be accused of like stealing ideas or whatever. That I mean, that's just a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
that's something that I found out. I actually recently, the spike feeders as a whole got. I don't know if this is like we haven't really done much about it yet, but we were reached out to recently to become brand ambassadors for Wizards of the Coast, which is like kind of cool. It doesn't really excite me or interest me or whatever, but part of that was we all had to sign NDAs. And Jim was kind of talking about some of the other. He's under like 3 NDAs for Wizards of the Coast right now, and one of the things, because he's able to look at cards in future sets because he's part of the rules committee.
Oh yeah, that
And
makes sense. Yeah.
for him and for everybody else on the rules committee, it's like you cannot look at custom cards. Period. Like, just if there is a custom card on a page, you have to close out of it immediately, because if that roots itself somewhere in your brain and you end up making a card that's exactly similar, people are going to complain. Somebody's going to be like, hey, you stole my idea, I would like some compensation. So instead, their reaction to that is just, you cannot look at custom cards, you cannot engage in talks about custom cards, you just straight up cannot. That is obviously, that's Wizards of the Coast. LSS might have something different. I feel like that's probably industry standard.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I was even very quick related tangent, but for anybody who likes science, there's a YouTube channel that I follow called Nile Red, who's a good old Canadian scientist. He works with chemistry and stuff, and he was trying to make caffeine-free Red Bull using like his own lab to try to extract the caffeine. And the beginning of the video on that, he actually emailed Red Bull and was like, "Hey, you should make caffeine-free Red Bull because I would drink it." And they're like, "That's really cool. We cannot take your your suggestion. That is not something we're allowed to do." So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
speaking of suggestions, I don't know if we want to move on from the topic, but it was pointed
Go
out
for
to
it.
me multiple times after last week's podcast that LSS has put a lore tab on their website,
yes.
which is really funny. A whole bunch of people pointed out to me, and then I was like, wait a minute, did that already exist? And I was like, no, I think they had the things that exist in the new lore tab were in other tabs. I think
Yeah, they were, I think.
they were under game. I think they might have been under the game tab.
Yeah, and then you go on to Heroes of Wraith, and it then leads you to the Heroes page. So
Yeah.
there wasn't actually a lore page, but then there was coincidentally after the podcast, when we chatted about it.
I'll take that as just positive. I don't know, not feedback, but
Well,
but
we always
like
know
the
there's
lore of the
something
game.
in the air. Something in the
okay.
air.
So I'll put this out there. If you did that listening to us, great job, LSS. Now can you please put all the articles there? Because it currently still has the things that were already there. It was just the hero page and the World of Wraith, which is great. They're great little things to read all that stuff. But I would like an articles or like a stories tab in there where they just put all of the stories.
Yeah, there's currently so much lore stuff on the Flesh and Blood website. So if it's all in one spot, beautiful.
It's like impossible to find because like the search function just isn't that good. And so like I used this example last week. If you didn't know the name of the story, how would you find the Christmas story with Azalea? I remember the name, but if you don't remember the name of it, how would you find it? Because you can't type Azalea. If you type Azalea, it's just going to be a bunch of like Pro Tour top 8 lists, and it's just going to be, you can't type
And then
Christmas story. That's not the name of the story, so it's not going to pop up. It doesn't have like tags or search features like that.
does it even say Christmas?
It might.
Like,
I think it's called Squeaker's
don't know
Christmas. I think it's called Squeaker's
is,
Christmas.
Yeah, okay. So it does say Christmas, but I feel like there are also articles like when they came up with the cold foil cracked baubles. I think that was specifically like it was like a season's greetings thing, but I think they mentioned that it was Christmas. I mean, it's very obviously like Christmas decoration coded. It looks like holly that you would hang from the ceiling or something.
But like, there's that. But there's also like way older articles too. Like once again, I remember the name of them, but like Battle of Morlock Hill. How would you find that if you didn't even know that it already existed? Like, and it's like important pieces of lore. That one in particular might be on Dory's hero page. I don't remember, but there's a bunch of them that aren't. Like the Outsiders. I think another good example is the that I don't know how to find would be the Outsiders story that they gave to us before they gave all the individual stories.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea where to find that one other than just to scroll through a whole bunch of articles. And they're like, to LSS's credit, they post a ton of articles, which is great for people who want to like consume like official content from the LSS site, but it also just buries all the lore. It's just like I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing that I've sort of noticed in passing is the sometimes the chronology is rough on the articles page and like
Yes.
actual releases for like the product release page or whatever. And sometimes it'll have something that's like really important right at the top. Like right now, looking at the articles page, Dusk Till Dawn is still the first article there, and that's from May 1st. Then the next one is an article from Tariq Patel from May 12th. And sometimes you just get little extra sprinklings of stuff that are, you know, kind of out of order, and it kind of it's tough to figure out where things are actually supposed to be. I think if there was just a better search function or like tags on the articles,
Yeah.
I think that would probably help. Like even if they just tagged everything #lore, like done.
Yeah.
And then you could
Yes.
actually search by that. That'd be great.
So Squeaker's Christmas was easy to find because if you type Christmas, it'll pop up. But I'm currently trying to find the Outsiders thing, and it's like I tried Outsiders lore, no dice, and then I tried Outsiders story, and here's like the order. It's Outsiders spoilers, the Outsiders like original post, what to expect from Pro Tour from Matt DeMarco, the collation statement, pack one, pick one, Pro Tour Baltimore, and then a bunch of like individual things about the heroes that aren't actually the lore. So there's like 1,000 cuts, it's a trap, aiming high, bait and switch. These are all like pieces by like Kieran and Jacob Pearson that just talk about like the characters. That's page 1, no lore, and that's me literally typing in Outsider story. And so you're gonna have to like scroll through a whole bunch of these pages if you want to read that.
That's the thing as well. They have the thing set up as well. So they have the characters set up. So if there was an article for Dory's Morlock Hill story, you just put it in there. You put it in the Dory bit. You know, you go to lore, you go to characters, you go to Dory, and there it is. There's a section for it already. Like you go to Outsiders, you go to the pits, there it is, sort of thing.
Yeah,
so they could easily do it.
What I would like to
buried
see.
in articles.
So like they added a lore section, which is great.
They have tags. I just looked up Morlock and it has tags creative.
Ah, okay. Well,
That's it.
So
it's
you
creative.
So you have to
Use
type in
the tags, LSS.
What happens if you type in creative then? But I mean, like you'd have to know to type in creative. Not even like
Just do lore.
A normal person would type in the word story or lore. Like that's I think what you would type in. Like what
If I search creative, the first thing that comes up is the Crucible of War Q&A, which is tagged Crucible of War, comma, Q&A. That's the name. That's the title of the article.
Yeah. So, you know, I would like to attribute these to like growing pain stuff and probably not the top of their priorities, right? They want to get the game out there, make the cards, print them, all that kind of stuff, balance, yada yada. But as the game grows and as people get interested in the game, this is the kind of stuff that I hope they pay attention to. Because if someone's like, oh, I want to learn more about the story and the lore, and there will be people who do this. There are people who literally consume Magic the Gathering only for the story and lore. I feel sorry for them right now, but you know, if they do. So like those people are going to exist for Flesh and Blood for sure. And so having like the lore tab is great. I would like them to have in the lore tab another section called stories or articles, whatever one you want, maybe stories. And then you click on that and it just has a listing of all of the stories. They don't have to be crazy. It could just be a link to the stories that already exist. You just have to find them and make a thing that has a list of them all. So someone who wants to read the lore can just click on it and be like, I want to read these stories. There is a fan-made thing that kind of does that, right? What was his name again? I don't remember. Exactly.
So legendarystories.net.
Yeah. So a fan has done this, but it would be nice to see, LSS do it, because I think we mentioned on last week's podcast, the fan who's doing it can just decide, I don't want to do this anymore, and then just stop doing it, like, because they're just a fan and they're not getting paid or anything. They're just doing it because they love the game. So
yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
the takeaway is that they maybe listen to us, and then maybe put the lore up. It happened like. The timing is pretty sus, because it was like we talked about it on the podcast, and then literally like a day or two later, people are like, "Oh, they added a lore tab. Look, did you see?"
Yeah, so it's either the Living Legends podcast effect, or it's just we know what the best thing is to do.
We're just aware at all times.
We're just omnipresent now on the channel. Not that good. We're not that good.
I would like to think it's the Living Legends. I don't know, effect. I know a lot of people listen to the podcast, and we could talk about this in a week or two for our 1-year anniversary, but
oh wow, yeah, of course. Yeah, so we're nearly done a year.
Crazy.
That is crazy, yeah.
Yeah, we're only like an episode or two away from a full year of podcast, and I think we maybe only missed one podcast.
I think it was maybe 1 week.
I think it was when Az and I were at Worlds, maybe.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that was just a straight up we skipped that week, but
yeah,
every other week we either got there on time or slightly late. I don't even know if we ever really did slightly late.
No, I think it's always been released on a Wednesday, but we record different days sometimes. Is that right? Has it always been Wednesday?
there might have been one day that was like a Friday or something like that. Yeah. I don't remember, but there might have been like one time that was a little late, but.
As well, credit where credit is due. That's all Kel. Kel is the one that puts this all together and uploads it to all the various places. So, yeah, like this wouldn't happen if Kel wasn't behind the scenes, pushing all the buttons and cutting things together. So,
yeah.
And if folks didn't realize, we do have a regular upload schedule. It is Wednesday, 6 a.m. PST, and I figure that's a decent enough time where folks, throughout the I won't say globe, but it's a decent enough time where people can like listen to the podcast on their way to work or on the way home from work, at least.
Yeah.
So,
or on a lunch break for me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, I have my sandwich. There we go. Listen to that.
The podcast is super interesting because when I normally upload a video, this is for the video side of things, is that I usually get a big burst of views and then they kind of taper off. But the podcast is a little different. You do get the big burst of views, but I feel that more people, I don't know if they come back and re-listen to it, but the views stay more or less a little bit steady throughout a week or so. Like even one that feels like it didn't perform very well will still like continue to get views. And I think that's because people will save the podcast to listen to for specific things that they're doing,
writing like a more opportune time.
Yeah.
Which, there was actually somebody at, I think it was the last skirmish that I went to. I don't remember if I had already mentioned this, but there was a newer player that I had never seen before, and I got paired up against him, and I was just like, oh, hey, like, haven't seen you around. Welcome to the community. And I had the promos, the good deeds don't go unnoticed. Nice. And I was just handing them out to people. And I was like, well, thank you for being a part of the community. And he's like, oh, thanks. This is super cool. Are you from the Living Legends podcast? And I had my mat in front of me. And I'm like, yes. He's like, I listen to your podcast all the time. I'm like, that's super cool.
No, that's sweet.
That's brilliant.
Shout out to that person.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I cannot remember his name, but it was a very pleasant interaction. If I look at my match history, I could find it again, but I also don't want to dox him. So,
that's cool. Though.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, when I'm in my garage, I'll like download the podcast and I'll listen to it while working on. I think it was when he was working on his car, and I was very impressed by that. I was very, very happy to hear that because. It's cool being able to meet people, which is something that I got to do a lot in Minneapolis, but it was for, people that I'm aware of and not people that are actually in my community. So yeah, it's just nice to still be, to be a central part almost.
Worlds will be a really fun experience, I think then. Cause like,
oh, God, yeah.
Like, I don't know how much this happened to Az at Worlds. but like I get stopped all the time. Like even just all the time, which is great. Like I'm not saying don't stop. If you want to come say hi, come say hi to me. Like the worst that can happen is I'm like, I gotta go now. Sorry, I'll talk to you later.
Like go for a number 2.
Yeah, or I'm late for something or whatever.
I'm late for my regularly scheduled shoey.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
yes.
no, it's great. It's great. So yeah, it's one of the best parts, and it was very eye opening for the first calling that I went to, the very first one in Vegas, where people not only recognize me but approach me quite often. And I think I've told this story before, but the most eye opening was I was there hanging out with the professor, and he and I were just chatting. Just kind of standing in the hall, just chatting, and then people would come up to us and say hi and take pictures with us and stuff. But at some point, Olivia, was it all three of them? I think it was just at least Olivia was there. I don't remember if the other cosplayers were there too, but she was in Prism cosplay chatting with us, and then someone came up with a camera, and we all assumed they wanted a picture with Olivia because she looks fantastic. She's Prism, awesome job, and it was just like, yeah, they want a picture, and they're like, no. I want a picture with you guys. It was like me and Prof. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. But okay. I mean, it's not weird, but it's like unexpected. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And Olivia took the picture. So it's like, that was a very, I don't know, like a watershed moment. But it was a very like eye-opening experience for me. I'd never experienced anything like that before. So it was a little, yeah.
It is funny, isn't it? It's just like we get together every week to chat whatever about Flesh and Blood, and little do we know how many people, it actually reaches.
It's so nice.
It is, yeah. It's brilliant. Yeah. So thanks everybody who's listening to this now in the future, wherever you might be out there watching this or listening to this, whatever you're doing. Hope it's getting you through your day. But it's always good to hear these tales and good to meet people when we do meet people. So yeah, definitely stop us if we are in World. Well, we will be at Worlds. If you're at Worlds as well and you see us, say hello.
Yeah. Something that I wanted. I'm sorry to cut you off. Something that I want to do at Worlds, which I think will be really cool. So this is for like everyone listening and fans of the podcast, who just want to play some games with us. Something that I've been thinking about. So typically, I don't know if they'll have this at Worlds, but typically at other Flesh and Blood events, you can do on-demand events. And you can even make your own on-demand events. And so what I want to do, I think it'll be really fun, is to have like a big like Living Legends on-demand event where like fans of the podcast, we can all like play in a big event together. Maybe Ultimate Pit Fight, maybe something else, but I think it'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll throw up a random I'm gonna call it a throwaway prize, but I'll have a couple good deeds cards left over that I'll be dishing out in Worlds. Maybe I'll give one to someone at the event or something. Like
I'll probably still have some too. I think I have half of them left.
Same.
I've given them to all of our local players, and I'm like, I am out of ideas.
I gave a couple away online already. I have plans for 25 of them that I will unveil at some point. It actually has to do with the art that I mentioned, the Sylvia art.
Oh.
But I'll still have a bunch left over that I'm gonna just give out. So my current plan is just to give them out at Worlds. But
all the more reason to hunt us down and find us, even if we are on the way to the toilet.
Maybe I'll bring some to like pre-release too. I'll just give some to like a couple to local people or something. But
yeah.
It's gonna be crazy. And actually, something that was really funny when I was in Minneapolis, again, I'm gonna keep talking about it. I was hanging out with other people from the Spike Feeders because they're just my friends, and I was there at this event with them. So like I was hanging out with Elliot, and we were walking around, and he was like, "Oh, I gotta go look for some cards, or I'm gonna go meet up with this person." And I was like, "Cool, I'll tag along." And there would be people that, as we were standing there, they'd come up to him and be like, "Oh my God, I'm like such a big fan of your channel. Can you sign my card, playmat, whatever?" And Elliot would be like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely," and he'd sign it. And I didn't want to impose and be like, "Do you want my signature too?" Like I was gonna wait for him to ask. I haven't been on a Spike Feeders video for a long time, like the main Magic stuff. And there was only one person that actually asked me for my signature, and it was a longtime fan of the channel. His name's Carson, and he's awesome. He was the first time I'd ever met him in person. But yeah, he's known about the channel like basically since it started, and so he knew that I was part of it. So yeah, there were a couple times where I it's not like I was expecting to be recognized, especially like outside of our Discord group. Had a bunch of people, like Kaylee was there. She actually came with us to the event. But yeah, just for like random people walking up, I didn't really get noticed at all, which was again kind of nice because I just got to, when I was done, just walk back to the hotel. So,
yeah,
that was like the best part of my weekend. I think that might be obvious by the fact that I continue bringing it up.
Yeah.
I got so much sleep on this trip.
You will have the exact opposite issue in Worlds. I
have a feeling. Yeah,
I anticipate so.
You will get very, very much noticed. It's one of those things too, because I just assume I still maybe I shouldn't, but I still assume people don't know who I am. So when I'm like sitting down and playing a game, I'm not like, "Hi, I'm Red Zone Rogue." I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah.
How's it going? Just chit chat, and then most of the time, almost every single time, people will be like, it's interesting to see how people ask. I think it almost happens every single time I play a random person at these big events. But they're like, "Are you Red Zone Rogue?" Or they're like, Red Zone, right?" Or something like that. They'll say that, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, hi." And they're like, "I wasn't sure. I just wanted to ask." So that happened to me like almost every time I sit down to play against someone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I did have another situation where I played against someone. They might have been new to the game. They had no idea who I was. But during the course of that, a couple people approached me about stuff, and they're like, basically said something along the lines of, "Oh, are you like famous or something?" Like not those words, but basically that. And I'm like, I just make videos. I just make videos on the internet. It's yeah. But yeah, no.
Brilliant.
Events, they're super fun. And if you want to play some Flesh and Blood with us, Worlds is going to be the best shot. I'll be doing a lot of side events. I will likely not be signing up for like the calling or whatever. They're probably going to do a calling with it. I don't think they've announced it yet, but they'll probably do a calling. I will probably not play in the calling. Why? It costs a bunch of money, and I don't have any illusions of grandeur that I'm going to win. And I'm not even going to try to win or practice or do anything like that. What I want to do is I want to hang out with my friends and just play a bunch of Flesh and Blood. And maybe I'll do a draft. Maybe I'll do a sealed. Maybe we'll do UPF. I very rarely play constructed.
I would love to try to win the gold foil Silver Palms.
Yeah.
I just think that'd be sick.
I have tried. I've played in 2 of the UPF events, and I'm almost always the first one to die. So I mentioned
content creator curse.
I have mentioned that people generally recognize me almost all the time, and so I distinctly remember the last time playing. Maybe I was playing my Volda deck, and I just got destroyed, dude. They're like, I'll attack you, and I'll send 15 rune chance at red zone, and I'm like, what? I'm just sitting here, man.
I'm just a guy.
Yeah. And they're like, well, I'll type red zone. And then the other guy, we had a KO player who was another adjacent to me. And he was just like, Lords of Chaos dictate all of my actions. And so literally everything he did was like, all right, I'm going to roll my dice to see who I attack. And then we're going to roll the dice to see if the attack gets pumped. Like he literally random attacked every time. And a lot of them went to my face. So like,
that's wild.
Anyway, I usually die like pretty quick in these events. The UPF events. So
not only have you got the content creator's curse, but you're bringing Valda to the table. Let's be honest, she is one of those ones that just telegraphs kill me or attack me, otherwise I'm going to batter your face in.
Hey,
I'm going to make 20 seismic surges.
I just wanna play my pulverize for free, and then maybe also give it like +1 dominate, and if it hits you, you discard 2 cards.
Yeah.
God, Terra Sunder is such a good card.
Maybe I just
really
want
is.
to attack you for 15 dominate, all right, and then you have to discard 2 cards if you somehow live.
Yeah, is that so wrong?
It's just
That's
what I
the
want
reason, right? That's the reason I went on that tangent earlier about what's the sub theme, because I played a UPF game recently. It was part of the series with Pascal, and he's a massive Guardian player, and he was playing Valda, and Shield Bash came in clutch because it deals damage, doesn't it? It deals damage to them if they block.
Shield Bash is kind of like Steel Blade Shunt or Reckless Swing. It just deals damage, and it's not like attack damage, so it's really, really hard to like defend or.
I think it cares about a -1 counter on one of your shields, or maybe even remove one as a D-react.
I'm gonna Google it.
The red is a defense reaction, 3 for 6. If a Guardian offhand with 1 or more defense is defending this chain link, deal 1 damage to the attacking hero unless they discard a card. How does that scale? 1 or more.
It's probably just the defense.
It's just the defense that scales. Yeah.
But I mean, it's still like it's one of those annoying bits of damage, right?
Yeah. It's a hard to prevent ping, which like I've killed people with Steel Blade Shunt. I've killed people with Reckless Swing. Like these are game winners.
They
are.
I'm a big fan of like flick knives is the one that I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got owned. I got owned by flick knives in one of my local armory events. I was playing. It was when I was playing CC and I was playing Bolton, which as this Wednesday, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
I was playing Bolton, and I just could not draw a Beacon of Victory or Lumina Ascension to save my life. It was like 10 turns, and I didn't see a single one of either of the cards. And so I was just like, okay, whatever. I got to do something. I can't just keep taking damage for no reason. And I ended up getting attacked down to 2.
Oh no.
And and then he was like, "Oh, I could have killed you with flick knives." And it's like, well, I mean, it's not the end of the world. And then he did like the next turn afterward, and I was like, the prophecy. You did in fact kill me.
Flick knives almost always just puts your opponent at like -2 health right off the bat. Like, unless they're running some weird shenanigans. Yeah, it's just like you get them. A lot of people don't run like Sigil of Solace anymore. I don't see a lot of Sigil of Solaces rolling around. So
even
Flick Knives was the. I'll carry on. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, even the Ira deck that I've been playing doesn't play Sigil anymore. Which that was like a staple. Like red Sigil was just you win the game. You just have 26 life, and you're super efficient. So, but yeah, Flick Knives as. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, so I was playing a game earlier, and Flick Knives is just horrible because they are playing with Spider's Bite and Nerve Scalpel.
Yeah.
I went to do a D-react to block a crucial on-hit effect, right? And then they threw their Nerve Scalpel at me, which then -1 my Fate Foreseen, so it's now blocking for 3, so the breakpoint was not achieved. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, that's tough.
Who were you playing against for this? Was it like a big event?
It was just on Talishar earlier on today.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was a cool interaction that just screwed my whole defense over. So I'm playing this new Azalea fatigue strategy, right? And that's one of the main. That's one of the main matchups that really is difficult because Azuris like to run large decks, or the ones that I've been playing have anyway.
Yeah.
These are just I just have these sitting here because they're my extras that I was trying to sell. There's it's a Flick Knives and a Quiver of Abyssal Depths.
Is that a cold foil Flick Knives or?
No, this one's just Rainbow Foil. I do have a cold foil one, but that one's in my Uzuri deck.
Yeah,
I own three of these.
I still have not pulled or purchased a Flick Knives. It's the one legendary that I'm still missing. So
I have a Flick Knives right here. But it's Rainbow Foil.
Could be in for
Kill
that.
my big man.
I just need one at all now.
I've opened up 3. I've opened up a cold foil and 2 rainbow. I'm keeping 2 because I want One in my Arachne deck, one in my Uzuri deck. But
Ooh. Yesterday, I had a bunch of prize tickets for my local game store, and it was like almost enough to get a box. So I went up to the guy and was like, I have a bunch of prize tickets. How many packs of an Outsiders box would this get me? And then can I buy the remaining packs in that box? And he was like, yeah, sure.
Nice.
And it was like the second pack or something. Like it only cost me 30 Canadian dollars to get the rest of the packs for the box. Like second pack Codex of Frailty. I was like, yeah, we made our money back. And that makes
How much
the,
are
like,
they now?
sixth. They're $46 according to TCG Player.
Ooh,
Wow.
more than
Yeah.
more than they've gone up. I think they were 30ish
Yes.
when I was looking.
They were 30 for a long time, but now they've been sitting around like 50, 60 Canadian dollars, which is rough. But when I only paid $30 for this box and I pulled a Codex of Frailty, I'm like, the rest of this does not matter. I've made my money back.
That actually adds a lot of value to the Outsiders box because like it's just a Majestic. Majestics are a little bit harder to pull in Outsiders, but I mean it's a Majestic. It's not a legendary or anything. So
Yeah. This is like it's more expensive than I think all of the legendaries.
Yeah,
in the set.
I think
which
Flick
is-
Knives is like $40.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
Wow.
TCG Player has them for like 35.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the most expensive legendary from the set is.
Let's check TCG Player. I'm pretty sure they're all around like $40.
Yeah, I sold my
totally fine.
I did sell my third Plague Hive, and I sold it at a pretty good price. I sold it for $130 shipped.
Mhm.
Was $120, something like that. Maybe 130. But
Yeah, like according to TCG Player, sort by high to low price. Oh, because it's sort of it sorts by market price, which is kind of weird for legendaries because it'll take into account the cold foils and whatever. But in terms of the like listings as low as, Codex of Frailty is more expensive than all of the non-extended art legendaries.
Yeah.
The extended art legendaries are still expensive, but that makes sense. That's totally fine.
they're really hard to pull. Yeah.
The top 3 expensive cards, expensive Majestics in Outsiders. The third one has kind of been a dark horse as the weeks sort of press on. But the first one is Codex of Frailty. The second one is probably pretty obvious, but what do you think it is?
Definitely Premeditate.
It is. What do you think the third most expensive Majestic in Outsiders is?
Down and
It's
dirty.
a card. It is.
Really?
It's a card that I did not expect people to continue to spec on, or I think it is actually being played, but it is not my bet for what I thought one of the most expensive Majestics in the set was going to be. Like I was expecting Give and Take. I think Give and Take is sick.
Yeah.
Give and Take is really sweet.
I think it's just the speculation on the next set, isn't it? The fact that it can be a popper in Arsenal and all this.
Stuff.
Yeah. I've been using it as well in this Azalea fatigue deck. I've got one of them in there because essentially if you blind Azalea and then you've got that stuck in your arsenal, you still got something to defend with from your arsenal.
Which does double duty basically because you're defending and also you're clearing your arsenal so that you can do something else with arrows.
You can filter it to the bottom as well if you don't want it at the bottom.
Yes.
My guess was actually really close. I was gonna say Shakedown because I know Shakedown has been like a $10 card for a long time, and it still is about a $10 card.
Yeah, it's number 4. It's very close. It's like a difference of like $2 essentially.
I hate that card.
Blood Rot.
I hate it.
Oh, it's my favorite. I love that card.
Yeah, I hate it.
It's like whenever I have one in my hand, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good turn. Like they're gonna hurt. Codex of Blood Rot's also over $5, $7.50, and Give and Take's gone up quite a bit. Because I remember when we were first talking about Give and Take being like sweet, it was like $1 or something. It's now $5.40, $5.45. So I don't know.
Yeah, the thing that I'm sort of just remembering about this, my cat is on my desk. The thing that I'm just sort of realizing, I suppose, is that Outsiders is still like a pretty decent EV set. A lot of the Majestics are worth non-zero amounts of money. Like there are some sets where you open it and out of two Majestics, all of the other ones are worth like 25 cents or 50 cents.
Yeah.
Like it can be tough when you're opening Arcane Rising and you just get like an Arcanite Ascendancy and you're like, oh, this card is useless. Like this is not worth money.
Yeah, and you only get two
Love that
Majestics.
card.
You only get two Majestics, so you'll get like
Yeah.
an Arcanite Ascendancy and like a Teklo Core or something, and it's like,
Yeah.
cool. I mean, like, they're cool cards, but they're like $2.
Yeah. So
And-
like with this, they significantly pulled back on the number of Majestics, which I think also helps. But you know, especially comparing it back to Welcome to Wraith and Arcane Rising, getting like 6 Majestics and having them all be worth like around a $5 like feels much better. It does not feel quite as bad when you hit like a really bad box.
I so
You can
it's
still hit stickers with Outsiders though.
it's a really funny dichotomy because like there are some people who I don't even know if they listen to the whole podcast, but they'll comment on like Flesh and Blood's too expensive. It's too expensive to get into this. And then you'll also have people who say Box EV's dead, Flesh and Blood's worthless. Like you have people say both of these things at the same time, which is hilarious to me. But I think when people say it's too expensive, they're alluding to like 3 cards in particular. But looking at Outsiders, this is the kind of thing I actually really want to see going forward. I think it's really good. And that, the most expensive legendary from the set, non-fancy treatment, is Flick Knives, and it's only $30. Like $33. I would like it to be a little more common, like maybe 1 in 2 boxes or something like that, to get a legendary that's worth like $30. And then you'll also have all of the, like a bunch of Majestics, like a value Majestics. I think it's better for everyone if the Majestics are valued more. I don't think it'll make the game specifically cheaper, but what it'll do is it'll make singles worth opening and selling for single sellers. Because currently, like, I had a whole like 50-minute talk with Jim from FAB TCG Cards about this, where like EV was like Bill said, terrible. You'd open up a box and you get like a bunch of like 25-cent like Majestics, like from Uprising, for example. This was just a bunch of like 25-cent Majestics, and so it's like legendary or bust. So if you open up a ton of boxes, you'll probably average out that you get the nice cards, but I can't see a lot of like LGSs doing that. So I don't know. This is good. And then you still have your chase cards. You still have big money cards, right? So like your Cold Foil Plague Hive still like $340. Cold Foil Marvel Codex of Frailty $300. Even Extended Art Redback Shroud $250. All of the Marvels are over $100. So you still have like a nice little chase there, but you know, they're just alternate treatments. You don't need them to play.
Exactly.
I mean, the most expensive unique card is the Fabled and Plague Hive, which is 146. But even then, it's a Fabled that you run in only 2 classes, and not everyone runs it. I run it because I think the card's awesome, but
yeah, I've had it played against me a few times. I think Plague Hive is pretty good. Yeah, it is very good.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like it can be good in the deck, but also at the same time, like you could just play something else, and it's not going to be the end of the world. Like there are some decks that feel horrendous to play if you don't have the right cards. Like, I don't know. Elliot was playing Ira in our local armory a little while ago, and he has Mask of Momentum, thankfully, but he doesn't have Command and Conquer. And Command and Conquer was one of the cards when I was playing specifically in our first 2 skirmishes. It felt awesome because, like, especially because there were so many Icelanders, there were so many just heroes that want to sit back and do something. You go like Kodachi for 1, CNC for 7 is like actually such a power play. It's nuts.
It really is.
So yeah, there are some cards that feel like the deck feels significantly worse if you don't have them, but thankfully so far the Fableds have all been kind of like either not playable or okay.
I think the best one's Eye of Ophidia, and the price reflects it. I think it's like a $500 rainbow foil.
All of them have gone up a lot recently.
I mean, the game's growing. A lot of people are buying cards. A lot of players are buying cards, and that's why people are wanting to get like, you know, cards like Eye of Ophidia and that kind of stuff. I hate to say this, but I really think Command and Conquer might be going up in price once Dusk Till Dawn comes out, because like it's just better. It's just gonna be more. It's just gonna be more relevant with Prism.
Yeah.
I know. It is a really good card. Like, it doesn't look like a super impressive card, but it's really good. It's just, it hits all of the right metrics to be a good card.
So I think this is gonna sound, if you don't play a lot of Flesh and Blood, this might not sound right, but I think this is right. What makes Command and Conquer super good, I mean, it's already super good, its effects, is the fact that it blocks 3, because a lot of the other cards in that power range only block 2. And it's like, you compare them and you're like, why does CNC block 3? It's like, has as good or maybe even a better effect in some cases, but it also blocks 3, and you compare it to stuff like Erase Face, which is also pretty good, right? But Erase Face only blocks for 2. And you're like, what the hell? Like, yeah, I don't know.
CNCs and E-Strikes are the OGs for that reason.
Yeah,
they all block for 3 as well.
E-Strike blocks 3.
E-Strike also blocks for 3. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I personally like E-Strike more than Command and Conquer, but I like modal cards. I like cards that have options and give you different paths of play, and E-Strike is really cool with that. But
yeah,
CNC, it's a workhorse.
Get them while you can.
Yeah. Arcanite Shard has also been very steadily increasing in price.
Arcanite Shard is hilarious because like it's literally a specialization. You can only play it in Viscera. It is the most narrow of all of the Fableds, and it's like very expensive.
Yeah, but Viscera is good now, isn't it?
Hey, Zach Zach Bunn top 8'd.
That's true.
The calling was Viscera.
Really interested in that deck. I was actually like refreshing Twitter to like see when he would post his list.
So his list is really close to my Viscera CC list that I played against Az on his stream a couple weeks ago, or maybe like a month or so ago. But Zach added some royal spice. So he added the crown, and he added some cash-ins. So yeah, that is pretty spicy. It's basically like a pummel style Viscera where you attack with the cards that you care about playing non-attacks, and then throw like 2 attacks and get them with pummel. It's a fun deck. But
it's very hard to race that deck as well and block effectively. It's ridiculous. Like, it's very, very difficult to.
It's real good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Nice.
And I'm a pretty good pilot of it, but I'm not like the best. And even then I was able to just like crundle in for just absurd amounts of damage.
Yeah. And obviously Rune Blades have a effective blocking suite as well. So if you're trying to get these effective on hits through, they can just block with the grasp and whatever, the Crown of Providence, and they got 6 armor on board straight away. It's hard.
They have a lot of that, but they also all their cards like for the most part block for 3 as well. So it's just another one of those things. It's just like
it's the rain it's the new Ranger effect where things are now blocking for 3 because they were like, oh, we were too mean.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like anytime a Ranger card blocks for 3 that's not an attack, you're like, oh, holy crap! Like,
that's amazing. Yeah,
Melting Point blocks for 3. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh my god, put it in the deck for that reason only. Yeah,
it's a yellow that blocks 3. Holy shit! Okay.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah. Wow.
What were you gonna say, Az?
I was going to say. I mean, before we sort of top it off. I mean, obviously, the main sort of popular deck at the moment is a Ranger deck, but it's not Azalea, it's Lexi.
It's useless Lexi.
I feel like
that is the hotness.
I feel like such a hipster now because I've been like championing fuseless no fuse Lexi for like over a year.
And Azalea.
Yeah. So it's just like I did not see. I'm not going to say I invented the deck because it's a pretty easy deck to just, hey, look, what if we just don't put fuse cards in it? But I was the first. I had not seen a YouTube video or a deck tech or anything like that before I put mine out. Let me put it that way. I brewed up my version of it independent of anything else. It's Blitz. I'll be very clear. My version is Blitz. I don't really play CC all that much with Lexi, and it was good then, and it's better now because you just have better cards. It was good enough then that when we played in the calling in the most recent, it was during the world premiere of Uprising. It was a team Blitz, and I played with Steven Diamarata and Jim from FAB TCG Cards, and I played my No Fuse Lexi deck. And I literally beat an Oldhim. Like, I just killed Oldhim through his stupid Oldhim stuff. Like, I'm just like, eat it, nerd. Like, I'm just going to shoot you, you bunch. He was a very nice person. He was a very nice person.
Still, eat it, nerd.
We did
Eat
good
it,
enough.
nerd.
We did good enough that we got matched against like some of the top players in the world. Like we ran hot and we were like 3 or 4-0, and then we started to get smashed. But like we played against Tark Patel's team, and we also played against Tyler Horspool's team. Like,
oh yeah,
very good players.
Yeah, not much you can do in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, like we can hang, but like, you know, we're playing like pet decks, and they're playing like highly tuned meta decks. Like I'm playing my No Fuse Lexi, and then Steven's playing Kano, and Jim is playing, I think, Dash. I think he was on like a boost Dash. So it was just like,
yeah. I mean,
It-
especially in the current climate, those are all really good decks.
Yeah.
yeah. But this was
Dash
back.
is such a monster right now for me.
This was back in Uprising. So this is before Dash
Yeah.
got all the nasty stuff from Dynasty.
Yeah.
Before they got like a harpoon and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. No Fuse Lexi.
Yeah.
I recommend. I'm gonna be making a new video on that whenever I get the time. Deck techs take a lot of time.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think what is the main card that sort of pushed her over the edge though? Because obviously her main turns are those massive 3 of a kind rain razors situation.
Well,
but Codex is in there now as well, isn't it?
you have more consistency.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
the deck is always good. Lexi's always like been pretty good, but what makes her even better is that there's a couple cards that give you a lot of consistency. So you have Ponder tokens from Codex
Yeah.
and Premeditate. And then you also have stuff like your quiver. So you always have your quiver at the ready, probably Wrestling Leaves, but depending on your matchup, you're probably just going to run Wrestling Leaves. So like you have like consistency and a little bit of insurance, and that's been Lexi's like weakness for the most part, is like consistency. Like I don't think anyone would argue that Lexi was like ever bad. Like she's always been pretty good. She won the Canadian Nationals.
Bricks less.
Yeah, she won.
Yeah.
True.
Lexi won Canadian Nationals one year, piloted by Yuki Lee Bender. So
Phenomenal player, by the way. I don't think I need to tell anybody that, but Yuki is just a fiend when it comes to Lexi.
Yuki is very good. I've had the pleasure of playing against her actually once, and she was one of my only losses in the said Uprising World Premiere event. Actually, I only lost twice. So I went like. I don't remember how many rounds it was. I went 7-2 or 8-2 or something like that. I won a lot of stuff. But the only people I lost to was Yuki Lee Bender playing Icelander. I was also playing Icelander, so it was just a mirror match. It was still very close, but we both had a legendary. I had the crown of the Coronet Peak, and then she had Alluvian Constellus, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good against the mirror match, let's just say.
Yeah, that card is. I don't think you could pick a better card to bring into the mirror match.
Yeah, but it was still like fairly close. It was determined on a single turn, right? Like it was one of those things where like if you don't kill me now, I kill you next turn, kind of deal. And the other person I lost to was another nice lady who was a Pro Tour competitor. I don't remember her name, but she was also playing Icelander. So I only lost Icelander mirror matches. And I think she also had a legendary too. I don't remember which one it was.
Jeez.
But yeah.
Anyway, the cream of the crop rises to the top.
Anyway,
It really does.
long tangent. Yuki's great. So yeah.
God, feels a while like Icelander being the thing, doesn't it? She was like a thing of the past now.
It's the flavor of the month stuff is really funny with Flesh and Blood.
It really is.
Because you'll have like, oh, Icelander's the best, and everyone's like, oh, I gotta play Icelander, and then it's like, oh, Azalea's really good now. Gotta play Azalea. Icelander's trash now, even though Icelander just is the same, is like actually just the same. Yeah, I don't know, man. People like,
Lexi's really good now. Lexi's the best. Oh, I have to play Lexi, Sod Azalea.
I mean,
and
I've always been on Lexi, but yeah.
Lexi, I think, just always has the upper hand, in my opinion, just because Voltaire is so crazy.
Well,
Voltaire is such a good bow.
What it's Lexi and Azalea are both really interesting, like comparatively, in my opinion, just because they're both rangers, but they play very, very differently. Whereas Azalea has like this very on-hit, dominate, single attack kind of thing where you can kind of go wide with some stuff, obviously. But it's mostly about like doing the big old smash. And Lexi's like not. Lexi's like, I'm gonna shoot as many arrows into your face as I can. Maybe sometimes they give you a frostbite, but I don't care. I just want to shoot a bunch of arrows at you. That's what Lexi wants to do. I mean, Voltaire is just super good. I'll be honest, if Lexi didn't have Voltaire, she'd be pretty terrible.
And if Azalea had Voltaire,
that'd be gross.
I mean,
we've thrown that idea out before. We was going to do a what if.
That's gross. Like, what makes Azalea good is her specializations. I've always said this. I've said this for forever. Azalea has some of the best specializations in the entire game. Like she has a tutor. She has this incredibly debilitating arrow. It's a good arrow, like by itself, but it has this on-hit effect that just dumpsters some strategies. Like, good job. Like, GG Ninja. Like, other than like maybe like Guardian or something, like who just wants to attack with one thing, or like. It's funny. I've been playing a lot of Uzuri. Uzuri's really good into Azalea because I only need one action anyway because all my stuff is reactions. So I just do one attack and then all my stuff is reactions. So I don't care about Red in the Ledger.
No.
But most other classes do. But Lexi's specializations are like not. Like, not that good. They're fine. I mean,
I have
Light It Up is
place
cool.
in my heart for Light It Up. I think that Light It Up is a really neat card. I've donked people for a bunch of damage with it before, but that is few and far between.
Oh, me too. I actually used to run it in my no fuse deck. It was like the loose fuse, because I still ran Electrify and Lightning Press, so I could technically still fuse, but it wasn't really a big deal. But I've cut it entirely with Outsiders. I don't have a single card that has fusion on it. I still run a couple elemental cards. Like I still run the cantrips. Like I still run Electrify and the 2 ice ones, just for the card draw because I think they're nuts.
Those have like a pretty low opportunity cost to run, honestly, because you need pitch cards anyway. You can get value out of them, and then.
I just run the blues,
Yeah, they're like pretty, like I said, pretty low opportunity cost. Pretty free.
I keep beating on this drum, but they're actually insane with Codex of Bloodrot because you get so much value because Codex of Bloodrot puts them face down. So you play your Codex of Bloodrot. Your opponent has to put a card face down. You put one of your cantrips face down. Then you activate Lexi's hero ability to turn it face up to get whatever value out of that. Go again, Frostbite, and then you play it from your arsenal. And then you get draw a card, and you have the effect. It's just like nuts. Like it's so good. Like
so it cancels out the discard essentially, doesn't it, of the blood rot as well? Yeah,
because you play it, it replaces itself. If you pitched if you pitched a blue card, then you'll have some resources floating, and you're just like it's just straight value. And then your opponent also has a blood rot pox, and you also have a ponder token. So it's just like Codex of Blood Rot and Lexi. Well, this is once again. My Blitz no fuse Lexi. I'm not sure. I've not tested this for CC. I don't know. But for Blitz, it is gross. It is nuts. And then I also run. The deck is very expensive, by the way. It's a wallet deck because I also run Eye of Ophidia and Plague Hive because Eye of Ophidia is actually insane with Lexi because you pitch Eye of Ophidia to play something like 3 of a Kind, and then you get opt to, and you're like, oh, these are trash. These make my 3 of a Kind terrible. Bottom them, and then draw your 3. I have videos.
You look at 5 cards basically.
Yeah,
sounds good.
I hadn't run it before Outsiders, and then I was retooling the deck, and I'm like, wait, what the hell? Why am I not running Eye of Ophidia? It's like actually just a slam dunk if you have one. Yeah, it's just real good. Yeah, I want to play my Lexi deck now. I want to play my Lexi deck now.
I think you haven't been on with Lexi before, have you? Against Azalea.
I play. Oh, you're talking about like a CC for your stream? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, for the streams.
Could Lexi, baby.
I think it'll be a bit interesting matchup because I think Azalea actually techs better into Lexi because Azalea does like the Red in the Ledger thing. So Lexi's weaknesses: she blocks like crap. Other than your arrows blocking for 3, your armor suite sucks for blocking.
She's the aggro hero now, isn't she? Really, at the moment in CC, she is the aggro. But yeah, as you say, she blocks poor, and she doesn't want to give up New Horizon either.
Well, New Horizon's extra bad because when it gets destroyed, because if you have Arsenal, it blows up your Arsenal too. So not only do you lose your New Horizon, you also lose your Arsenal.
It's actively disadvantaged.
It's very bad. Yeah. And then you have one other block. You have your Tunic. That's it. Because you run Bullseye Bracers and then you run Snapdragons. You could run Perch Grapplers, but still, it's still not a lot of block. Going in against like a 13 Dominate Red in the Ledger is going to make you very sad. Like, very sad.
I can block 6.
Brilliant.
Well, it's worse than that. It's like 13 Dominate Red and Ledger, block 3 with my 1 arrow that I can block with because it has Dominate. Don't want to block with my, with my hat because it'll blow up my Arsenal. It's sad.
Take 10 and take a turn off, I guess.
Yeah.
Take 10, time walk, go.
Yeah. The good thing though is if you're playing Lexi, you have Voltaire, at least you could still fire your arrow because it's an instant. If it was not an instant, if it was Death Dealer, you literally couldn't you couldn't fire your arrow.
That's the worst.
You could load an arrow, draw a card, pass the turn.
Yep.
Literally just like trying to bloody navigate the Azalea mirrors, like who can get Red in the Ledger first. It's just like an absolute shit show, essentially.
You can't even like Bullseye Bracers because that's also an action. Yeah,
it is. It's awful.
It's just none of it is good.
None absolutely of it wrecked.
Is good.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that
has pretty much been the podcast for today. Just chatting, absolute breeze, which is fantastic.
Good to catch up.
I love the fact that we can do that on this podcast as well, because essentially just what we do anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it just gives us an excuse to actually like be like, oh, how was Minneapolis? And it's like, okay, well, here's how it was. Let's release a video on it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's been a fun time as always. So thanks everybody for listening, wherever you might be, whatever you might be doing. Thank you very much, as always. If you listened right on to the end, what should we say? People to leave a comment if they've listened this long this time.
Oh, we also have we could also do a little Arsenal step.
Yeah, we can do that.
Good. I have a lot to talk about, but I don't want to eat it up.
If you want to eat it, I'm happy to present it.
Crunchy, just chewy. I'll be very short because if either of you guys have one, you can go for it. So my quick one is I've been doing a lot of stuff with the Grand Archive recently, including a Grand Archive starter deck event that I'm hosting in my Discord, the Rogues Gallery Discord, on the 27th, May 27th. Entry fee is $15 plus shipping, and we're charging shipping because literally everyone is going to get something no matter what. It is non-competitive pricing. Everyone who plays in the event will at least get a silver event pack and a booster pack, and possibly more. Pricing is randomized, so half the people will get a gold pack as well. The idea is just to get people into the game, to have some fun playing it. You will need to know how to play the game, but helping players is encouraged, and so I've just been doing a bunch of Grand Archive stuff recently. So
nice.
That's that.
That's awesome.
In addition to grinding out the Diablo 4 server slam this weekend.
Yeah.
If you guys have anything, go for it. That was my quick.
The only real thing that I have is I was trying to, not very successfly, and I didn't even put up that much of a fight. I was trying to stave off the urge to buy the new Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I think I lasted like 6 hours and then ended up buying it. But
did you just get like a digital copy, or did you go down to like a
I just got
GameStop or whatever? Okay, cool.
Yeah, most of the time I do prefer to get the digital copy, because then it's like if I'm done playing it, I can sell it off again or whatever. But sometimes I'm just a little bit too lazy. And for a game like this, I'll probably come back to it. I'm actually like kind of okay with the decision that I made, because so far it is really good. Like, for people who have played Breath of the Wild before, it is very similar to Breath of the Wild, but it is also very much like a sequel. It's like it took a lot of things from Breath of the Wild and rehashed them into a better version of itself and fixed up a lot of the like clunky stuff. There's just a whole ability now that if you're underneath a structure and you're within like a certain distance to it, you can just, it's called Ascend, and you just basically like magic dive up to the top of the structure. Instead of having to climb it all the way, you can just be like, I'm at the top now.
Instead of like Genshin Impact climb, like
and like it's awesome. It feels super sequence breaky. I don't think it actually is at any point like you're actually doing something unintended, which is great. It's just really cool to have that sort of like, it's streamlining the process, but not in a way that takes away from the gameplay. It allows you to highlight the gameplay more by not doing the boring stuff.
I did see a headline that someone had beaten the game in like 93 minutes or something like that. Like someone speedran it already. But like, you could do that in the original Breath of the Wild too. You just run over to Ganon and just smack him in the face a bunch. Yeah, you know,
beat him to death with a stick.
Yeah, literally, like with 20 sticks, you just keep wailing on him while your sticks break.
Absolute leaf, just using the leaf to attack him with.
Yeah, I love that. I remember seeing somebody being like, imagine you're this like ageless evil entity, and this dude who was sleeping for 100 years wakes up, runs to you in his underwear.
It's not even
shit out of you with sticks.
Like, it's not even that too. Like Ganon in that game is huge. It's so big. Yeah. I don't want to spoil it for Az too much, because he said he told us previously he hasn't beaten Breath of the Wild. But
yeah, that's right.
Ganon is huge. I mean, you see him flying around the stupid castle. He is bigger than that. And you're a tiny little naked dude with a stick. Imagine a tiny little dude who's like the size of one of your fingers running up to you and then killing you with a stick. Like, you just like, ow, like hey.
Just being like, ah.
Stop it! Ow! Come on, leave me alone. Like,
brilliant.
Like, yeah,
absolutely incredible. But yeah, Az, do you have anything for your arsenal, or do you want to? Do you feel like wrapping it? You're the host, so it's up to you.
I don't have anything. I've been very busy with Flesh and Blood stuff, which is good, but not much else really going on. So yeah, we can pretty much wrap it up there, I guess.
Hell yeah.
So thank you very much, everybody who's listening. And join us next week. We'll be doing it all over again with maybe a topic, maybe just random breeze like we have done.
Next week might be our first year. I was gonna say 20th. I think it might be on the 20th. Is the first year anniversary. So next week might be our 1 year anniversary. I don't know if we're going to do anything special for it. I have invited some guests. I don't think we'll be able to make it. So it might just be us hanging out, reminiscing, talking about stuff. I think I actually might post. Maybe we'll do... we've done a lot of Q&A interview stuff with guests. Maybe we'll post a thing if people have questions for us. Maybe I'll post that. I
was just about to say, I think that's a good idea, because we did that sort of initially. I think even our very first episode was just a Q&A. And I don't know if we've done a Q&A for us. I mean, people are always asking us questions, and it's super appreciated. But if there's anything that, you guys want to hear us talk about live, that would be a good idea. So yeah, we should definitely do that and see if we can
live.
Well, no, I don't know if we'll do it live. That's a little bit trickier to do. Yeah.
Christmas only, maybe.
Yeah, I like the Christmas one. The Christmas one is good. But I think a Q&A is a good idea. I'm down for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
So we can just so we can vet the questions. Nothing too sort of spicy as such.
yeah,
Saucy.
I will post on my Twitter probably several days before you watch this, so it's probably already up there. So
People will be like, "Oh, that's what that was about."
That's what that was about. Yeah. Yeah. Look forward to that. Yeah, completely forgot about that. We did mention it earlier that it's going to be the 1 year anniversary. So yeah, look out for that. Look out for the post. You probably would have already seen it, as Kel said. But before we wrap it up, let's do a round. I've been Az from Go Again Gaming, your host for today. You can find me on Go Again Gaming on YouTube and Go Again Gaming AZ on Twitter most of the time. Yeah, got a couple of exciting things coming up, as I alluded to earlier. Yeah, very much loving life at the moment. So all is good. I'll throw it over to Bill next.
Hell yeah, brother. I'm Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me on Twitter at BillTSF. You can also find me on YouTube at the Spike Feeders FAB. And we do live edited gameplay content. If that's something that interests you, you should definitely come check it out. We're currently going through a gauntlet where I am playing Azalea versus one of my good friends, Jay, who's also one of our local players here in Winnipeg. And it's just a great time. So you should definitely come check it out and show Jay some love, because he very graciously decided to, put himself in front of the world and play Flesh and Blood. This past episode, the one where he's playing Arachne, is kind of sick.
I recommend it. It ends in spectacular fashion.
It absolutely does.
I don't want to spoil things, but there's no small amount of hubris that goes into it. So it was fun. I recommend it.
That's something that is just very obvious. If you know me, there's tons of hubris in here. This bad boy can fit so much hubris in it.
It's really good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And finally, Kel. Tell the people.
Hello. I'm Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue. You can find me at Red Zone Rogue everywhere, youtube.com/Red Zone Rogue, twitter.com/Red Zone Rogue. And I talk about card games, mostly Flesh and Blood. A lot of Grand Archive recently, but it's still mostly Flesh and Blood. It's just a lot of news regarding Grand Archive and stuff. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I also have Twitter, I also have Facebook and Instagram, but I don't use them all that much. I still occasionally will check, and then there'll be a message from like a month ago that's like, hey, I want to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So I actually don't really use it. So if you message me, it might be a while. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching.
But yeah, thanks for watching, folks. I'm just looking at this picture again. It's making me crack up.
All right, so.
Oh, my God.
For the people, Kingdom is a crazy game.
For the people who don't know, beforehand, I don't know if I should say too much about it. Well, we're at the end of it. I don't know if people are watching with their children. Oh, so, in Tears of the Kingdom, the new Zelda game, you can like build things. And someone built a large man with a flaming bit. It was just a flaming thing. And you can go look it up. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. There's a nice little picture that he's posted in the chat here, Cal's posted. The thing that cracks me up is that there's a character just staring at it.
There's Link. Yeah, he's just checking it out, checking out his handiwork.
Just like this. Oh, yeah. Nice.
The best part is that the flaming rod moves. It goes like this, like up and down. It's so good.
Flaming rod.
It's so funny. It shoots out like a flamethrower.
They're
absolute
so
flaming
many
rod.
Absolutely incredible things that people have created. There was one that was set up very similar, except he had the rod and then 2 bombs underneath. So not only was it flames, it was then also he exploded and
exploded.
Fully exploded.
The image that I shared with Az has like these canisters underneath the rod.
Wow.
They don't explode though.
Just proper full to the brim of.
You all need
the podcast. Cut it.
Yeah.
That's enough.